So this was interesting because one of the teasers that they released for Alien Earth sparked some interesting theories. This is an article from MovieWeb covering this. Did Alien Earth just tease a surprising and previously divisive sci-fi creature crossover? The article begins saying, we finally got our first look at the xenomorph in Noah Hawley's upcoming FX and Hulu series, Alien Earth, but did the new teaser give away a major crowd-pleasing sci-fi crossover? The teaser, while only brief and coming as part of an FX is on Hulu trailer, which teased other upcoming shows such as The Bear and Dying for Sex, revealed some intriguing new shots from the Alien series, which fans have since taken to social media to share a theory regarding a certain clicking noise that can be heard in the background.
All you can do.
One of the Twitter users said, that's a predator sound, isn't it? The predator sound can be heard during the brief footage. And it sure does sound like those ominous clicks we've heard emanating from the extraterrestrial hunter and the xenomorph's fellow sci-fi icon. Another user also said, I noticed that too. Someone also said that it was unmistakable that it was the predator. Another fan said, they cooked with this show if that's the case. But also someone said that if it is the case, well, then that kind of stinks that they spoiled it. It's like, well, that would have been a nice surprise if it indeed ended up being that predator-alien crossover. Now, it could be something else. Other people were speculating that it could be a face hugger's egg opening up. The clicking sound was there. We just don't know for sure what it is. Someone else said it does sound like it, but in Aliens, the xenomorphs make a similar sound in one part of the movie. So there is also precedent that it could also be possibly the xenomorph making that clicking noise. So the theory is, could Alien Earth be a secret Alien versus Predator project? Have y'all seen the Alien versus Predator movies? Alien Resurrection, there was a planned sequel for that, but they decided not to pursue it. That was the original concept for it, was to be set on Earth, but they didn't do that, and so they just pivoted to adapting the comic book and doing that Alien versus Predator crossover, adapted for the big screen twice, in 2004 and again in 2007's Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Unfortunately, neither was able to make the most of the concept. And while they fared reasonably well at the box office, both movies were met with seriously negative reviews. At present, we have no idea whether Alien Earth is secretly a new Alien vs. Predator adaptation, but it's hard to deny that the clicking sound is pretty solid evidence that we could be set to see the two beloved monsters do battle once again. That would be crazy if this ended up being true, that this was a secret Alien versus Predator. If they were going to do that, it probably would be like a short stint maybe initially, because in the first season, they have to just set up the world, set up the story characters, and exploring, I guess, the crash site. And maybe at the end, they'll tease a crossover for the next season. That might be trying to do too much. It had some interesting parts. If you don't take it too seriously, it was kind of a fun concept to explore, and it did have basis in the comics, but I'm sure obviously the comics were much better at handling it. And comics, those are the ones that are free to explore. It's a medium that's great to explore those different what-if scenarios. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think that's what they're going to do. It is clicking. I don't know. It is a odd thing to insert into one of their teasers. So maybe they just wanted to stir the pot a bit in the fandom and maybe just gauge fan reactions to the possibility. The Alien vs. Predator movies are considered canon within the Predator franchise, but not within the Alien Prometheus franchise, meaning they exist as a separate universe. Again, I think it would just be trying to do too much. Throwing another IP into the mix. They got plenty with their own Alien franchise. I think there's plenty there. That can be very challenging. That might end up just being too complicated. So I think it's definitely a delicate balance to mix that all in there. They have all of these things. FX has the Predator and Alien franchises, and maybe it's a possibility that they could do that. Maybe this would be the way that they introduce it to be canon to this universe in particular. I do think there's a possibility there. A possibility that this could be a well-done attempt to connect them, because the films weren't very well received, very forgettable. So I think if Noah Hawley wanted to do that, that could have some potential. I think people really love that comic. Maybe this is their attempt to try to make it work in both universes. It is possible. I mean, I don't think they're going to do it in this season. Maybe tease it at the end if it's looking like it's doing well. If this show works and is given that season 2 and is successful. Maybe they can do it right this time, kind of a Batman versus Superman thing. But again, it all depends on execution. They would have to be very well written into the Alien universe and completely ignore the Alien versus Predator films. I think that's a safe thing to do because I think everyone pretty much views them as a separate thing, a fun diversion that no one really took seriously as canon. But some concepts are canon, I guess, for the Predator. The possibilities are there that if it's done well, and same thing with just trying to fit it within the grander, ever-expanding scope of just the Alien IP, there's definitely challenges there if you want to try to connect it to all these different things with the new lore introduced in the prequel film. So it is interesting if they're going to at least reference the engineers. To make it so integral to the story, I'm not sure if that would work. I think it could be promising. I think at the end of the day, what's most important is just telling your own story that can stand on its own and has to be very carefully done as far as any references. It can't be too on the nose and can't break immersion. So it has to be very seamlessly woven into the narrative and it doesn't contradict anything. That's the thing. If it doesn't contradict anything that's been said before, and especially around this time period, which is 2 years before the first Alien film, it can't contradict anything that we've seen around that period. I think that's the most important thing. And I'm sure that a lot of Alien and Predator fans will disagree with this, but I think that as long as you're not stepping on major canonical events from the Alien film franchise, it could be great to introduce the Predators into the series. But interestingly, the director of the most recent Alien film Romulus, Fede Alvarez, commented on how he'd approach an Alien vs. Predator project, and surprisingly, what he said would be very close to how Hawley's TV series would play out if this turns out to be true. In an interview with Collider, he said, quote, "The way I would do it, most likely, if it could be done this way, it's harder to keep secrets online. The best AVP will be the one that you don't know is AVP until the other guy shows up. You think you're watching a Predator movie, and then they land in some place and there are creatures, and effing hell, it's a xenomorph. That would get me yeah, you'd go crazy. Or vice versa. You're in an alien movie, and then suddenly a mysterious creature is there, and you can hear that sound, and you see the cloak, and you go, is that an effing Predator? And then turns out it is. That would be the way to do it, don't you think? Once you put it in the title, it's like, spoiler alert. It's important to note that Alvarez isn't involved with Noah Hawley's Alien Earth series, and there's still really no evidence to support this wild theory beyond this little soundbite in the trailer. It's still really fun to think about how a story like this might surprise audiences with a crossover like that. But I'm curious to know what you think about this theory. If executed well, would you enjoy seeing this new Alien series introduce the iconic Predators? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, you can leave a super thanks or join as a YouTube member for early access to new videos and other perks. You can also check out my Patreon page for exclusive content. Thank you all so much for your support. And as always, have a very nerdy day.